The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Wednesday, the 7th day of July, 2021. Welcome to the it's the second half of the year. I'm still excited about that, of course. It's the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House, One Communications, and Linda's. I'm Jamal Hartman, along with Michaela Ian, as well as Leanna Lambert, who will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in her news break. And I'm sure it's a lot to talk about. Some breaking news we just got as well, Kales.
Yes, good morning. Good morning. We got some news just now. The president of Haiti was assassinated overnight in his private residence. That's wow. In his own home.
That's we'll have to check some more about that. That is insane. So good morning to everyone. Thank you so much for making us part of your daily routine. Another good one today as Trevon Lindsay of TNN stops by for a conversation. The daily is a say it, don't sing it.
Oh gosh.
She got last week, folks. She got last week. So yeah, I think she may get this one as well. But we have a lot to cover before we even get to Mr. Lindsay. So again, folks, this is one of those shows you want to make sure you share the link. You want to make sure you retweet it. You want to make sure your family and friends are tuned in via channel 82 or even on bcgradio.com.
Yes.
Want to just touch on real quickly, if you don't mind, Kales, last night's game with Bermuda and Haiti. Not the result we wanted, but definitely, I mean, I know some people are not going to like me saying this. It was a good effort. For me, I don't think the team was as deflated in the second half. They came out strong and just things didn't go their way.
Yeah, I just, the first thing that I noticed, and I always notice this because I'm 5'10", right? So the majority of the guys on our team are shorter than me. They are. There's like 3 of them who aren't. So like Dale Eve, the goalkeeper, Dante Lavrock, and there's one other guy. I can't remember his name.
Butterfield.
Yes. Yeah. But they're all shorter than me. And I'm like, we need some power. We need some height, like in order to, you know?
But Kale's Lionel Messi is shorter than me, and I'm not that tall. So I mean, his
okay, that's one. That's one person.
I mean,
Ronaldo's like 6'3". You know what I mean? Like most footballers have the height. They're not like basketball players, but the height and the muscle.
I somewhat. Yes, but there's a lot of, I think you can get away if you have the skill to do it. Pole skills, a lot of the Spanish players were really between 5'7", 5'10". But I see, I think your point is that, you know, to match power height, it would help. But hey, Bermuda, honestly, we look forward to the next time.
Absolutely.
But before we move on, there was some controversy regarding the RG headline about last week's game, and the headline said 0 to hero, and I think I'm gonna upset quite a few people by this.
Okay,
but I'm not quite sure, and this is what I want to say to people, honestly. What I've had to learn, because I've been told I was a hothead or something, people just don't know how people are supposed to be or are, but we have to learn to breathe deep. I know that many people feel a certain way about the RG, and rightfully so. And I'm not one, I say it all the time, that's going to sit here and defend the news entity.
Right.
Based on the history and some recent history, we have a right to have issues with them. But I don't criticize other mediums publicly in space. That said, I think it's been taken out of context because of who it was. This is what I took from the RG headline for saying 0 to 17. Basically saying the clock started at 0 and at 17, Nikki Wells scored. So it's like from 0 to
literally.
They were literally saying from 0 seconds to 17. That's what the headline meant. If I put my personal emotions aside, what I feel about the entity, that's what they meant, folks.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
The RG hasn't been guilty of this stuff before, but we have to do better.
Yeah, the thing about the RG when it comes to the headlines, and I mean, it's no secret that I worked there for a number of years, and I haven't worked there in 11 years. But I think a lot of the times the sub-editors, so when you go to like journalism training, you're always trying to come up with something clever as a headline because you want people to read it. You don't want like a bait and click type headline, but you want something interesting to draw people in, right? And so when you're in that position, you're trying to come up with something clever. And so I get that sometimes clever goes over people's heads or clever falls flat. I wasn't mad at that headline. Like there was Ace Boy one from tennis the other week. I wasn't mad at that because, you know, tennis, ace, like, you know what I mean? But again, if most people aren't going to get it, then we got to try something different.
Well, I didn't go to journalism school, folks, but because I had to do media classes as I done production. And one of the things I did learn to go on the back of what you're saying, Michaela, was news has to be written and reported in layman to the point everyone should be able to understand what you're saying.
So it's like a 7th grade. It's like really you're writing at a 7th grade level.
Exactly.
When you write the news.
The whole ace boy thing, I'm going to be honest, it went over my head. Now you're saying an ace in tennis, it makes sense. So I'm not one to give advice on anything in life, but it would do the RG well because I think this app probably shows a lack of connectivity with the community that they serve. So I you know, and it's funny, we got Trevon Lindsay on today because we're talking about the RG and media period. But you know, don't want to spend too much time on it. But yeah, I just felt like, folks, we have to take a deep breath.
Yeah.
And not think. And again, I'm speaking from experience, folks. Not think everything is the worst. Again.
Also, I think we have to remember that a lot of the sub-editors and writers, reporters are not Bermudian.
That's a problem.
So there's a bit of a culture clash.
Not a problem, but that's an issue in itself as well. Yes. But I wanted to go real quickly before we move on. I want to go back to the football because I know some people opinions were divided. Some people saying Bermuda coach needs to go, Carl Lakewan. Some people saying they should have played Ken Critchlow, who I think is probably one of the most talented people I've seen on the Bermuda squad in recent years. But I want to just share something with people. Haiti is no pushover. Haiti is ranked number 83. Bermuda is ranked 168. Now, again, whether you give two FIFA rankings, that's on you. The only disappointing result Bermuda's had recently, for me, was Cayman Islands, 1-1. Beat them like 13-1 a few years ago.
Yeah,
like I think 194. Suriname 136, and Barbados is 6 spots ahead of us, 162. Right. So as far as the result against Haiti, you know, beating Haiti would have been an upset per se, right? And keep in context that their team are somewhat all professional, semi-professionals. I think Bermuda's made a lot of headway.
Yeah.
But it's important that they don't rest on their laurels, and we do as much as we can to get as many of our good players in professional spaces so that we can be on the level that they're at.
I agree with you. I think that a lot of the times we as Bermudians, because Bermuda is so small, we view it as an honor to represent Bermuda. Doesn't matter the result. And I kind of feel like that mindset needs to be shifted. We should be showing up proud to be Bermudian in whatever space it is, and giving our best, giving excellence every single time, not just being proud to go, but giving our very, very best. So you're right. There needs to be some opportunities. We need more players in professional spaces so that we can compete at that high level.
Indeed. And I think it'll happen. So, Kales, let's, so there's a headline. We're going to go back to the RG.
Yeah.
Police launch Operation Vega, and I think Leanna's going to have more about it in her report. But Commissioner has cracked down on common driving offenses after significant rise in serious injuries. Sarah Lagan of the RG reported this, and basically there's a few things in this. The Commissioner of Police wants to meet with Lawrence Scott and discuss some inadequate fines. Basically, you can go through a red light, as is quoted, traffic light, and get a $50 fine. Well, from that perspective alone, I think the government, who's always looking for money and always looking to take it from the people, right? They'll be like, oh, Commissioner, $50? Okay, cool. Let's make it a $500 fine. And you'll start seeing cops sitting at the red light to make that government money. And, back in my day, they used to say, oh, watch out for around Christmas time for the bonus, right?
Right.
Now, that could be their commission. Now, Michaela and I don't know if we agree on this, but sobriety checks, quote, he has a personal view about advertising where they're going to do it, and it frustrates the process. And he hopes to have that discussion as well. Well, I will say here and now that I completely disagree with the commissioner and police as a whole on that. I believe that policing is not about criminalizing. It's about prevention. So letting people know that there's going to be sobriety checks is a part of a process of improving the behaviors of a culture, not to criminalize the behaviors of a culture.
I feel like Bermuda has had plenty opportunities to get itself together when it comes to, and I know we use the UK term drink driving, but I hate that term because it just doesn't really make sense to me. But in terms of our culture of it being socially acceptable to drive while drunk, nothing's been done for years. I'm talking about decades and decades. I remember when I first became a reporter, when I was 19, I would go to magistrate's court, and the amount of people every single day who would be in court for drunk driving, literally every single day. So I feel like government has not done enough at all. There are still tons of accidents. There are still people dying as a result of drunk driving. So for me, if you've got to change the legislation or whatever, so that people don't know that there's going to be, a gaggle of police on, East Broadway at the end of the night, and all those people have their licenses pulled because they decided to drive drunk, so be it.
No, I get that, but I think the police have done a tremendous job of policing is about community first, right? And I think they've done a fabulous job of letting people know, look, we're going to be right here. Now, we know the numbers of whether or not that has cut down on the traffic offenses as it relates to driving while impaired.
See, that would be interesting to me because I know many people, I don't really go out that much, so this doesn't really apply to me any longer, but I know many people who go, oh, the police are going to be out starting at 8 p.m. I need to be in my door by 5 to 8, So I get what you're saying in that regard because that is prevention. But at the same time, as a culture, we're way too lax. Like we're way too, the amount of people that have died because someone decided to drive drunk. You know what I mean? Like the amount of people whose lives have been ruined because someone decided to drive drunk. And so I just feel like enough hasn't been done for a long time.
But I think
not having this conversation is going to make it better, then hey.
Well, I think, and we will be having the police on next week to discuss a very important topic, folks. So we always make room for these conversations. So I'm thankful to them for reaching out to come on. But I always go back to what we talked about last week or week before, personal responsibility. It comes like with same-sex marriage or anything. The same way I feel we can't legislate love, we can't legislate necessarily behavior. Because at the end of the day, while I agree that there need to be laws in place to keep the majority safe, there's been laws in place all this time, and people have broken them. I think culturally it is a problem. Tamara Richardson actually has a very interesting comment here. Let me address this. No, it was a joke, Jody. If I know that.
We were
I know that. I was curious, Jody. No, please do not get bonus. No, that was a running joke. Like I said, when I was growing up, people used to say that.
Could you imagine?
Now, look, I mean, my boys and my cousins have been leaving me hanging if that's the case. But Tamara Richardson says, Bermuda has such a tunnel vision problem. We all agree the roads need to be safer. However, we don't want to trample on rights. This uploading initiative seems problematic at first glance. Leslie White, Kills.
Here, a DUI isn't a big deal. In the US, it'll stop you from getting a job / a mortgage. It could stop you from getting a date. We take it too lightly. Yes, my point exactly. No one cares here. Like, no one cares.
I would definitely agree. From my time living in the US, it's a major crime.
Yeah.
Like it's when I say major crime, you can read Bermuda's news and it'll be hidden in like the newspaper somewhere. Especially if you're a celebrity, that's big major news. Like you're trending.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it that I don't understand. Like, there have literally been people who have died, and people get a year in jail, a year and a half, 2 years, or suspended sentences, and they killed someone. Like, to me, that is like mind-boggling, and I just don't understand why we still take it so lightly. And like the Road Safety Council? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Dr. Francione. Right. So I feel like they've done such a good job in educating people, but it just doesn't seem to stick because people just whatever.
Elizabeth makes a good point. She says day parties day parties became super popular when the road sobriety check started. So people didn't change their behaviors as far as drinking and driving. They just changed the times that they were gonna do their bad behavior. That's a good point. Nicole Walker Kills.
Exactly. So sobriety checks are supposed to act as a deterrent. The problem is our mindset towards road safety, speeding, and driving under the influence. How do we create that shift? It's definitely a mindset shift that needs to happen.
Yeah, indeed. Carmel Mitchell-Jones says the major changes in the U.S. happened when MADD, M-A-D-D, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, was formed. So maybe we need something similar in Bermuda. I know the Road Safety Council does a lot of work. Leslie White says, met someone in the U.S. who had 2, and it was to him the biggest shame. He put off telling for months. And that's the other thing. It's shame. Like, people feel like it's this almost like being charged with what's like a major crime, like in Bermuda, like it's an embarrassing one. Renee Sherilyn Simmons Gills.
It's our community and a far smaller environment. The old saying, Bermudians love to drink. It's fine to love to drink, but let's be responsible.
Yeah. Nicole Walker states, when those out drinking attempt to do the right thing, they are finding it difficult to find a taxi. So there also needs to be better transportation as well. Well, Rick Olson, I believe, typed one word Uber. So I don't know. We'll have to check other jurisdictions to see if that's been as helpful. Charles H. Jeffers II has agreed in the U.S. one is essentially ostracized for the irresponsibility.
Yeah.
And Bobby Singh says, however, we have taxi drivers who openly admit they won't pick up drunk passengers. How do you address that? Trying to respond to and fair enough to the cab drivers. I mean, do you want someone in your cab that can possibly throw up, ruin it? Like, and let's say it's a cab driver who pretty much doesn't own the cab, right? At the end of the day, I think Michaela and we probably still are apart. I do believe that I don't think that we should be necessarily trying to criminalize. However, if that's not working, then we must go to the next thing. And so my hope is that next week we get some answers as to what's going to change. Obviously, the police commissioner is there in a leadership position, and he is looking at, he believes that increased fines and not letting people know when the police are going to be out doing things.
Yeah, I mean, if you had if running through a stoplight is $50, but it was actually going to change to $200, $300, $500, I think that would probably, deter people from going through a yellow turning red light.
Yeah. Philip Trott says, I can't stand the term drink driving. speaking of drink driving, speaking to our wonderful sponsors at Burroughs Lightbourne last night, who back us with Heineken 0.0, and we're actually trying to think of a fun little promo contest to reward you all, because next week, July 15th, I celebrate 2 years of no alcohol. So we want to reward you all for my behavior. So
congrats.
Thank you. And I don't say that to tell anyone else to stop drinking, because at the end of the day, it's not about drinking what we're talking about today. It's about drinking in excess and then operating a vehicle and putting other people in danger. Lee, good morning to you.
Good morning.
It's a hot combo this morning as usual. Michaela out here starting trouble.
Hey.
Yeah, so looks like the police are going to be making some moves. Looking forward to having them on next Tuesday to discuss this further and to see what they plan on doing to address what they deem as a serious problem on Bermuda's roads. So let's get to the news break. We have Trevon Lindsay in the back waiting to come on for a conversation that I believe will be like no other. So, Leanna, over to you.
Thanks, Jamala, Michaela, and good morning to everyone tuned in with us. I hope everyone is having a great start to their day. I'm Leanna Lambert, and it's time for our daily hour news break. Now, taking a look at today's top stories. A returning resident who went into mandatory supervised quarantine tested positive for COVID-19 3 days after returning to the island. But the Ministry of Health last night said that the case was among 5 new cases of COVID-19, all of whom were travelers recorded between Thursday and Sunday. Now, it is not known if the 4 remaining cases involved people who were immunized with the coronavirus vaccine. Now, these latest cases means that the number of active infections has risen to 15 from the 12 announced on Friday. However, none are in hospital, and there is said to be at least 2 that have recovered since Friday. Now, the number of active cases hit a low of 4 on June 14th, and as of Friday, a total of 64.9% of the total population had received at least 1 dose of the vaccine. Police have launched, as we heard, an all-service operation to crack down on the most frequent driving offenses on Bermuda's roads. It's called Operation Vega, and as Commissioner of Police Stephen Corbishley puts it, the initiative is to help address some of the issues that are ongoing in our roads each day. Now, making the announcement at a press conference yesterday, the commissioner said that one of the issues is police having to advertise where roadside sobriety checkpoints are located, essentially tipping off drink drivers. He said, quote, "The current framework of enforcement in Bermuda is not strong enough," end quote. He is set to meet with Lauren Scott, the Minister of Transport, next week to discuss numerous issues, including inadequate fines for road offenses, improper use of helmets, not using indicators, mobile phone use while driving without due care and attention, and stop sign and red lights were among all the offenses being targeted by police. Now, the operation has been put in place after there had been a significant rise in serious injury collisions, 94 in total this year compared to last year, even when factoring in COVID-19 restrictions on movement in 2020. Now, the BPS also launched an online reporting portal where members of the public can instantly upload videos and pictures of any road traffic offenses they may witness. The site is available at portal.police.bm/operation-vega. And Bermuda suffered a 4-0 defeat last evening when they faced off with Haiti during round 2 of the Gold Cup 2021 preliminaries in Florida, sadly blowing their chances to advance to the next stage. Now, Haiti took the lead in a record time with striker Frenzy Pierrot scoring a hat trick just midway through the first half. In the second half, Bermuda made several changes looking to get back into the match, and they did just that in the 79th minute when Nikki Wells rounded the goalkeeper and scored, but Haiti would remain dominant and restored their 3-goal lead just a minute later, ending the game with a victory over Bermuda. For today's weather, we have a high near 82 and a low near 73 degrees. It will remain cloudy while a stationary frontal boundary just to our northwest continues to usher in warm and humid air. Now, the cloudy weather will continue throughout the day, bringing about wet spells over us at times. By the end of the week, however, the front will begin to break and dissolve as it gradually moves away. This will allow for more sunshine back into our days. That's all for the Daily Hour News Break. Let's head back to Jamel and Michaela in the studio for today's Daily Focus, which should be a hot one.
All right, Sister Leanna, thank you so much for that. Unfortunately, we have to say goodbye to you until
tomorrow. But you guys have a great one. I will be tuned in for this one. Michaela.
Alrighty.
See you later.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
All righty. Do not go anywhere. We have Trevon Lindsay from TNN coming up right after this.
Mom's celebrating her 70th birthday next month. Have you noticed her age is catching up with her?
Yeah. Plus, she's having a hard time getting up and around like she's used to. I would sure hate to see her fall.
At Medical House Limited, we can help make life situations easier. We have electric beds, motorized scooters, bath stools, walkers, you name it.
Mom's been real good to us. We'll get her birthday and Christmas gifts from Medical House.
Medical House has relocated next to the Dendytown Field, number 6 Bakery Lane, Pembroke. Telephone 292-3622.
John Barrett & Son, Bermuda's favorite distributor of fine beverages, has brought us a new and refreshing thirst quencher just in time for the approaching warm weather. Hint Water in 7 luscious flavors. Hint Water is slaking the thirst of active people who need pure hydration, low on the glycemic index, and want the kind of taste experience that keeps them coming back to try the next flavor. For those who've been giving water a miss, Hint may win you over. Hint Water. No sugar, no additives, all flavor. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
All right. Welcome back to the big show. She's Michaela Ian. I'm Jamal Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by Medical House One Communications, Lindo's, and our friends over at Channel 82, where you can stream this and many other locally produced shows. Before we bring on Mr. Lindsay, just want to give a huge shout out I have on my whiteboard. Happy anniversary to one of my partners and her husband, Dwayne and Keitha Kane, celebrating, I believe it's their 5th anniversary today. So happy anniversary, you all, and wishing you many more of those fine things. 5 years is a long time. They don't last 5 months anymore. I'm just saying 5 months is a long time these days in marriage. But without further ado, let's bring our guest for the day, Trevon Lindsay. Trevor, welcome to the show.
Top of the morning.
Hey, Trevor. How are you?
I'm wonderful.
Hey, look, man.
First of all, thank you for inviting me into this good format that you lot have produced. Good stuff.
Thank you. And honestly, you caught a divisive figure, right? And I look, I've been in the US for all but 3 years, for the last 20 years next month. And what you're doing, and I don't want to get too much into it, is it's not normal for Bermuda. What I do and say is not normal. What Teo Dill did and said was not normal. And I think when I think of you, I think of politics. I think of politics because, and I quote this all the time, not everyone's going to like you. Mm-hmm. But for those who do, you just continue to serve them. So without further ado, let's get into the convo, because I'll go on and on and on. But you've been in the news media space for a pretty long time, right? For those who may not know, speak about your start and your journey into this space.
I working in the hotel some years back in the 80s. I always had a like for photojournal, taking photographs. I took up a course that helped me to advance. I bought my own kit, I bought my own camera, and I used to do a lot of still photography. I used to freelance for Roy Gazette, and that put me in that space of news coming up as a young boy. The only thing I was allowed to watch staying on Court Street was the news. So from 7 to 7:30, that's the only thing we can look at on TV, and 7:30 in your bed. Winter, spring, summer, or fall. And being brought up in that area, it was rough in that area. So you had to stand your ground. I was introduced to Rick Richardson about 12 years old. I sat with Rick at the Buckborough's trial for my whole summer holidays. I set up Supreme Court and witnessed that trial with Rick. That was my introduction with Rick at 12 years old. And then from there, football games from National Stadium, I was with him. I'll carry the camera deck, I'll carry the camera, and he became that surrogate father for me. 1991, a door opened for a videographer of ZBM, and I walked right through it. And all I done was transform from still photography to motion, which is videography.
Well, Trevor, I want to stop you because I'm not trying to date you because you said the Buckboroughs, but that was 77?
70. Yeah, it was in the 77 was the riot, so it was 75.
Wow.
74, 75, 76. The trial was in. So for my whole summer holiday, I was up Supreme Court.
I honestly did. I would not have thought that. Like I honestly, and that's interesting because, I mean, obviously Michaela's a journalist. She's been in different spaces, but she's much younger. And I'm not trying to age, but that says a lot. Like this is not something that you just popped up and started TNN, but I think Michaela will get into that anyway. Go ahead, Kels.
Yeah. So tell us how you started TNN, because it popped up on Facebook and it's become such a force in such a short period of time.
Back in 2016, 5 years ago, 2016, I kept prompting Bermuda Broadcasting to get a website, and they were dragging their feet. It never happened. So I started doing my own thing, and TNN came into play. Everybody thinks it's Trevor's News Network, but it's not. It's the News Now, because it's not just about Bermuda. It's about global. It's about putting Bermuda on the map outside of Bermuda. So I had to get a more recognized and a more professional label, the News Now. It's pretty simple. And I started from there. My first feed was Raymond Augusta's funeral. And I worked with Raymond in Hamilton and Princess years ago. And that's where his funeral actually was the first live feed I done. And from there, being in the news, I would give ZBM the respect and give them the story, let that story go first. And then from there, I would put in my story. There was nothing signed, no type of agreement that would cause a conflict. So it made it easy for me to do my own thing. A situation happened at ZBM, I went out on my own, and here I am.
Wow. How was that? So do you consider yourself a journalist? Why or why not?
Technically, on paper, no. Experience, yes. The gift that I have and being in news, I would consider, and it was always spoken at ZBM, myself, Gary Moreno, Rick Richardson, Darlene Ming, Ciola. We had a news, an air for a news story. And it is a gift. I'm operating my gift. That's it. I tell you where it started, how it started, where I started operating. And I know a story, a lot of these stories back when I was at ZBM, I brought to the news, to the newsroom. Gary brought stories to Tarai, brought stories to everyone. And I stood in the background because, quote unquote, everybody, you're just the cameraman, but I played a very vital part in that news product every day. My attitude when I left ZBM was, if I can make their newscast number one, I could do it for myself. That was my attitude. Here I am today.
No, I love that.
For those that, you got haters. You got people that try to belittle you.
Right.
I done a good job doing that to myself. They say no, it don't bother me. It really doesn't bother me. I don't care whatever they say because I can do better all by myself.
Yeah.
And I'm done that. Been there, done that. Congratulations on your 2 years clean, bro. You know what I mean? That touched me.
Thank you.
I just never knew your story, but congratulations, because that's big.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? When people fail to realize that when a person has a substance abuse issue and it's a daily thing, and then to stop it, it's very hard because and a lot of, let's get on that drink driving situation we have in Bermuda. We have a lot of alcoholics that we don't touch on in this island. The what's that court? The DUI court needs to force people into that. You either go jail or you go DUI court.
Yeah.
You know, but that's another.
That's a whole other.
Yeah, we'll definitely, because you have a story in that respect, and I think your voice will be respected as you share that. But again, we can definitely always have you back to go there. But go ahead, Michaela. Sorry.
Absolutely. So would it be fair to say that, I'm going to say journalist again. So as a journalist, do you feel that you learn more on the job than say getting a degree? Because I mean, at the Royal
years, I should be able to say that I know a little something. 30 years I've been in the field. You know what I mean? I know a lot. Yes. I read, I go online, I study, you know, I try to perfect what I do today, you know, without having that degree.
Yeah.
You know, and there's been many great men that's come and gone that has built empires without getting that degree in college or university.
Yeah. No, I respect that. And I always tell people I learned far more working on the job than I ever did, because I have a degree in journalism, I have a degree in communications, and I did the Press Association multimedia journalism training 12 years ago now. And I've learned way more on the job. But at the same time, when you're a journalist, there's certain, you know, ethics and all that sort of stuff. So I know that you've been embroiled in some controversies and that sort of thing. So what do you say to those people who criticize your ethics and how you approach things sometimes?
This is who I am. Love it or like it, or get over it. Sorry too, but you know, I have advisors. You know, when I have certain stories that I feel are going to be a challenge, I have advisors. I have a lawyer on my panel. I have my top advisor that I bounce off and I run stories to him, and I get feedback from. So right. It's not just me. I don't make all the decisions. I get advice.
Well, I want to just follow up on that because, you know, you said that's just who I am. But understanding, I mean, look, I take a lot of heat for things I say and do on this show. So I can relate in a lot of ways. And we understand that in dealing with Bermuda, there is a lot of traditional conservatism. You know, I had a client of mine say to me last year, Bermudians love a target. And once they're done with one target, it's time to focus on the next target.
Yeah.
And this is not me picking on the people I love and the people I am, but it's just the state in which we are. And I get that. But would you not agree to some point, Trevor, that sometimes you have gone too far? And I say that as a neutral, to say, okay, there are people that say, well, look, you know, maybe he shouldn't have shared that picture of that accident. Would you agree that sometimes, like, would you take accountability and say, you know what, I got that wrong?
Of course, and I've done that before. Yes, of course. You know, there's some pictures that well, you know what helps me, and I have to understand that Bermuda is very small, and yes, a lot of people say everybody knows everybody. Yeah, but you know, the average person, we sit on our TVs and watch foreign newscasts. You know, you're seeing Saddam Hussein hanging from a pole. You don't cringe. You watch when Muammar Gaddafi was targeted and his house bombed, and we watched that, and it don't bother you. Yes, when it comes home, you do have to consider, quote unquote, and I do very much nowadays. I go my distance. I'm going to give you an example. I remember I was working up dockyard up Burnfish. I was traveling on Middle Road. That accident happened where the individual came off a Harbor Road, struck a car coming out of Really White's grocery store. Solid man, burned, broke. He ended up passing, but my first reaction was to assist. And then the lady that stayed next door, she's a doctor. When she took over, I dressed back. I went way back, and I took a shot because then my mood went into my news. I didn't shoot a close-up graphic shot. And the thing that blows me is that you get people that, and it's becoming even more now, the average person, first thing they do is pull out the camera, they take a shot. They don't care how close they are, and they share it. But I get flogged because I'm from a distance, and I put it, out in social media, on my network. I don't understand it.
Well, don't you think that the average person who is out there taking a photo doesn't have the responsibility, doesn't have the ethical responsibility that a journalist has based on code of conduct?
Yes, but it's still shared. It still runs. It goes viral, and people share it. But they won't even flog me because I consider very much the person. I consider very much what the scene looks like, and I try to go my distance. But and then even today, you got to think about the license plate. You got to think about the car. You got to think about identifying all of that. And I'm thinking about all that in the moment.
Right.
So, I don't always get it right. Forgive me for those that I offended. And I don't have a problem apologizing if I offend individuals.
Let me change that for you though. We don't always get it right, and we are human, and we will go, cross a line too far at times because guess what? Not because of us, but because of what we believe you desire and what you want.
Yeah.
That's it. Go ahead, Kay. Sorry.
Thank you, Brian.
No, I agree. And back to crossing lines, are there certain lines that you won't cross, or are you always bound by, let me get the story?
No. There are very much lines I won't cross. What lines? Okay, I'll give you an example. That story, and may she rest in peace. The young lady. People think that I'm always ready to put it out there first.
Right.
Not necessarily. It's just the nature of the beast. What lines would I want to cross? That's a good question. I have to think about what my answer would be. What in particular?
Yeah. No, I think that's right. I think that and I say this having been a journalist, like Jamal and I always talk about personal responsibility, but it's also because it's not just you, right? It's your organization as well. And like you said, you have a panel of advisors, so you technically do have to answer to them, right?
Yep.
That's really interesting.
I'm even got advertisers, and I have one advertiser ask me, he said to me, he called, he said, listen, I'm advertising on your network, and how far would you go when it comes to reporting certain court stories?
Yeah.
Because if you see it on one, and this is what they do, they see it on one network, they see it on another network, and they don't see it on mine. What's up with that? And they question you. What's up with that? Is it something personal? Because basically, I tried to remove myself. I remember I had a situation where I was working at ZBM. I had a brother that had a story that went court for murder. My nephew, and I had to report on both of them. I had to get that shot because I was a cameraman then. But I got in trouble.
You couldn't have recused yourself?
Sorry?
You couldn't have just eliminated yourself? And I just say that as
when I started in this field, one thing I'll never forget Rick Richardson saying, do not make a story for the competition to report on you about. Because if you get, I got in trouble, and they didn't say Trevon Lindsay, they said Bermuda Broadcasting Company's cameraman.
Yeah.
Headline. So, I'm cognizant of everything I do, even more today.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is not an easy job in a very small jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Well,
so
Trevor, let's just run out of time, and the audience have a lot of questions.
Sure.
Let me go to the audience. Some of their questions. Elizabeth Earl is asking, is he interested in journalism credentials?
Sure, and that's what I'm doing now.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. We have another one coming from Mark Phillips. He's asking, what are the future plans for TNN in the coming years?
I am looking to get more staff. I'm looking to. I'm glad you said it, because just come Sunday, I had a meeting with a few individuals that are looking to come on board with my network, because I can't do it by myself, and I need I'm increasing my team. And stay tuned.
All right.
Nice.
Okay. We have to go there. We have the premier coming on next week. David Burgess, Premier Bermuda's coming on next week. We had Don Burgess on a couple of weeks ago, and pretty much same question to you. You said at the last press conference for COVID press conference that you pretty much had enough. You're not coming back, and I think that would be a disservice to the people, because I think people watch just for Trevor.
Yeah, but it kind of sums up how fed up he is, right?
Right.
And to be honest, that's where it came out of frustration, because I asked going in, and I've stated it over and over. We started off with this press conference with a certain amount of questions. A lot of times the panelists don't even ask the questions. A lot of times the premier shifts the answers to either a minister that's sitting there, the Minister of Health, or he shifts it to outside the room, in which we don't get a response. So that's a basic question. I don't get no answer. And it's not even looked at like that. But I asked, it was 3 reporters, 5 panelists, 4 questions. Can we have at least 6 questions? Because a lot of times I come into these press conferences with sometimes 8 to 10 questions.
Right.
People feed you stuff, and then you got to sift through. This is a good one, and this is a good concern, and I don't have a problem asking my followers questions, because they are a part too. So when he said, "Go ahead, Trevor, ask a question," my thinking was, okay, go ahead, Trevor, ask you 6 questions. He didn't say that. But he said, go ahead, ask. So when I got to 4, and Adirondac's standing right next to me and cut it off, I got a little upset.
But
do you
Trevor,
feel like you go ahead?
I think we're entering a dangerous space when the media is being treated in a certain manner, a manner in which they're being pretty much restricted. But on the other side, we don't, in respect to everyone, they don't want to be there all night. So what would you?
It was only 3 of us. So 3 times 4 is what? I rest my case. If it was 5 of us, you would have had 20 questions.
No, I agree.
You got to give and take.
I agree.
Give and take. Most of the times the questions are not long. They're just specific questions, and then you try to get a follow up, and your follow ups are answered as another question.
I agree, but I think the point I'm making is what because when this press conferences first started, I don't remember there being a question.
There's no numbers.
How did we get to that point where they gave the journalists and reporters and the media these? What led to that? Do you know?
It's a good question.
Do you think it's control?
It is
because
very much control. It is very much control, because nowhere else in the world you are handled like that. I watch international news. I've been in international arenas and been right there as observers. And the press don't get handled like that. The press are very much respected.
Well, Elizabeth has a question, and I was actually going to wrap it up with this, but I can always count on Elizabeth Varel. How do you feel about the premier calling your story fake news? And we spoke about this yesterday. Let's
talk about it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I'm glad you asked that. That's the second time the premier has done that to me. It's very disrespectful, and I hear it. And I even had a dialogue with the premier maybe a year ago. I still had the dialogue in my phone, in which I'm going to say it publicly. I stated to the premier that there's a lot of people that see your behavior, your gestures, your go to your phone and no eye contact when I come on and ask questions, and the public is watching. I said, those that put you there are watching. Seniors are watching, and I get the calls where the disrespect that I receive, but I don't take it personal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't take it personal because I'm not going to give no one that type of space to, people don't do things to you. People just do things. Don't take it personal. And that's something from the 4 agreements. You know what I mean? So my treatment, Jamal, has taught me how to handle situations that I am confronted with.
Let's wrap it up. I want to say, I actually, the whole debate about journalists and journalism, whether you're a journalist, Charles H. Jeffers actually said what I've told people previously, and I just want to find his comment to share with everyone. I consider Trevor to be a reporter and not a journalist, and that's okay. We need both. And I'm like, potato, but I've always looked at you as a person that's going to get the story. Whether or not it's in a way where people appreciate it, I get at the end of the day, I think, Teo used to always say this, and this is how I feel in general about media and life. People will call that radio station and be pissed and go off. And he would say, folks, there's no one forcing you to press play and turn your volume up. You have choices. There's no one forcing you to read TNN. There's no one, even if you got a forward, you don't have to read it. So being in the media space, right? I just find it interesting how people act as if they're obligated to have an opinion on us. If you don't like something,
delete yourself.
It's that simple. Now, I wrote a post about you, and I want to touch on this before you leave. Yes, and again, the audience is great because they're really ahead. But Charles H. Jeffers II says, thank you, TNN, for offering and providing the service of live streaming funeral services during the pandemic. Interesting to hear what happened to be what you did as your first live stream years ago. Now, I want to touch on that because I wrote a post probably last month or May, and I was really giving you props because as much, I go back to what I said earlier about Bermudians loving a target. As much as people can criticize you for, the divisive figure that you may come across as, we have to give props. And Trevor, you provided a service during a pandemic where people can't even go to their family and friends' funerals. I just want to know what led to that. And I want to tie it in with another question that we had from the audience, which was, how does... Where is it? It's so many questions, man. I'm so sorry I'm not getting all those. But it was basically, how does a news website get paid? So first of all, how did you get to that point of offering these funeral services? And from a news financial perspective, do you feel like you're being rewarded? How are you making inroads as far as the advertising and so on? And we have to go. So if you can give us an answer.
Real quick, advertising is the key. And I do have a marketing team that I'm trying to formulate even more to get a lot of stuff. I'm doing it all by myself, but now I've got individuals that are coming on board. The funerals, I noticed that it was only allowed for 20. I wrote up a memorandum of understanding with all the undertakers. They responded and said, just drop your cards here. And if people request, and this where it started. I noticed that I have a following of close to 20,000 people on Facebook, close to 10,000 or more on Instagram. So wow. I just offered that service, and here we are.
Leveraged it. That's smart.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say this before you go, right? Look, Michaela and I didn't agree early on in the show about something, right? It's not about agreeing. It's not even about liking and loving. Sometimes it's simply just coming down to respect and appreciation. And I can't say it enough, Trevor. Like, I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you.
I respect what you're doing. And, I would say this off the cuff. Like, I think if you had the time, I would love to kind of find a way for you to do something weekly where you can actually discuss stories with, like, if it's a Sunday night or something, where you can discuss the news with people. I don't know what that would look like, but I think you have something. And I really want to see it keep growing and improving. And guess what? Even those who have concerns about how you go about things, take those lessons and see, you know what, if it's just hate or if we can use that. So thank you for what you do. Appreciate it. Keep growing. And if there's anything that we can do, please just reach out. If we can help, we
appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate it. Thanks much, Trevor.
Michaela, nice to see you, Michaela. Appreciate you. Thank you, Jamal. Appreciate that.
Talk soon.
Yes,
all right. All right. Thanks so much to Trevor Lindsay. If you enjoyed that conversation with Trevor, I did not know TNN stood for the News Network.
I didn't either.
I thought it was Trevor News Network.
The News Now.
The News Now. Sorry. Don't forget, if you enjoyed that conversation, give us a love, a like. If just show some love for Trevor Lindsay, TNN. We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to actually do a giveaway as well when we come back. So do not go anywhere as we come back with the Daily Play. If you've never seen the Daily Play, you want to see Michaela in action. Trust me. Do not go anywhere.
You want to hear that?
Same smooth sounds, different name. BCG Radio, home of Bermuda's most engaging morning talk shows, The Daily Hour and Good Day Bermuda. Download the app, available for Android and Apple devices. BCG Radio, your station for conversations and entertainment.
All right, welcome back to the Big Show. Thanks again to Trevor Lindsay. Honestly, really appreciate Trevor for coming on. Thanks again to One Communications, Lindos, Channel 82, Medicals, everyone who continues to support what we do here. Look, working in the news space is not easy, folks. It's really not. It's really, honestly.
Not at all. You got to beat it, man. You got to beating.
Seriously, it's tough. And, we talk about mental health. The mental health of people in media, it must be taken care of. Look, we're going to do a giveaway. But before we do the giveaway, here is, if anyone gets the answer before Michaela, we're going to do a giveaway as well. Here's the question. So the Daily Play, today it's guessing the lyrics to a song. Here we go. The Daily Play, brought to you by Heineken 0.0, great taste, no alcohol. Quote, we belong together, and you know that I'm right. Why do you play with my heart? Why do you play with my mind? End quote.
Why don't I know this? Mariah Carey? No, because in my head I'm like, we belong together, but that's not it. Say it again, one more time.
Oh, I people beat you to it. Yeah. People beat you. So,
so young. Like, I'm young.
So whoever Forever Lay is, you got the song, and
that is
got Boys to Men. So both of you, Sam that place, email engage@thedailyhour.com to collect your prize, and Forever Lay, you as well, email engage. We're going to give away 2 prizes. And while Michaela gives us the daily inspiration and we wrap it up, here's the hashtag to win today's prize. All right. It's hashtag TNN. We're going to pay homage to Trevor. So hashtag TNN in the comments. Hashtag TNN. Selena M. Simons, you have to, you, Patrice Moreno, were winners from the past weekend. So you also need to send an email to engage@thedailyhour.com to collect your prize. Today's hashtag is, for the win, is hashtag TNN. Kales, what are your thoughts on today's episode?
I really like the conversation with Trevor. Like, I haven't actually had a conversation with Trevor in a really long time. And I appreciated his candor. I appreciated his honesty. And I respect what he does. He gets those stories that most people don't. And that's respectable.
Indeed. I appreciate it. This is a very difficult space to work in. Like
absolutely,
mentally, it's rough. Again, I always tell the story about how when I was working at tourism and I came back and my mother asked me, do I miss radio? And I said I didn't, because the amount of stuff that comes with it. Like, you need a therapist, folks. Like, seriously, it's tough.
Hello.
It's
you
tough.
gotta have thick skin, but you also need that therapist. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And people don't understand it. All right, here's the giveaway. Let's do the giveaway real quickly before Michaela gives us the daily inspiration. Who's got it? Who's got it? Who's got today's prize? Who has it? Oh, I saw my mom in there. I didn't see your mom today, Kels.
I don't know.
Who we got? Tracy Williams, a new name I've never seen, but welcome to the family. You are today's winner. So, Tracy, please send an email to engage@thedailyhour.com. Kels, do you have any daily inspiration for us?
I sure do. This is from Jimmy Dean. I can't change the direction of the wind, but I can adjust my sails to always reach my destination.
Wow, that's a good one. I love that. All right. Well, look, folks, we have to get out of here. What I will say, please make sure you download the BCG Radio app, available on Apple and Android. So it's BCG Radio. Did I say BCG?
Right.
BCG Radio. Thanks again to our partners, Medical House, One Communications, and Linders, for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. If you haven't already, please be sure to like and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Don't forget to also subscribe to our YouTube channel. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again with you tomorrow. She's Michaela Ian. I'm Jamel Hartman. My friends, make it a great day. Peace.
Deuces.